With the news you need to start your day, you're waking up with Good Morning Northwest.
It's 6:17 on this Thursday, and after the break, local author Robert V. Taylor is here with his book. We'll be back with a live interview next. Welcome back to Good Morning Northwest. We have a local author here. Robert V. Taylor brought in his new book. It's called A New Way to Be Human, 7 Spiritual Pathways to Becoming Fully Alive. So good to meet you, sir. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So you have quite the story. I mean, really, it's impressive. You're from South Africa, and you moved to the United States many years ago to avoid imprisonment. Tell me about that.
Well, I had made a decision that I would go to jail rather than serve in the South African military, which enforced the apartheid system, keeping people apart. And I went to see this guy who I admired, Desmond Tutu, and I said, hey, I need some resources to get through jail time. And he said, wow, no way, you are not going to jail. And all of that happened because he asked me a question. He said, Robert, so tell me who you are, not what you do. And I told him a story about something that had transformed my life and opened my eyes. And it turned out that the person I was talking about was someone who had been his mentor. Wow. And right there, we had this connecting ground. And so I talk about that in the book, and the power of connecting stories, that when we know our own story and we know its power and we can tell it with all of its good and all of its, regretful, shameful parts and joy, all of that stuff, we suddenly find that there's a connection with a person who we would never expected to connect with.
Well, I love that you've incorporated your story, because this is a little bit of a memoir, but it's also a guidebook, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
And in what way?
Well, it's really a book about how to be happy and how to change the world. And when I say happiness, I don't mean that, the kind of happiness that you're going to get if you drive a new Prius or whatever.
Right, not instant like that.
Yeah, but the kind of happiness that comes when you pay attention to your well-being and to really your own growth. So it's a self-help book. It talks about spiritual resources from a variety of traditions. I tell some of my own story, but I also share the stories of very ordinary people learning to claim their voice, telling their story, responding to, the risky invitations that come along in life. And there's also a chapter, a pathway on how to cultivate delight and joy and wonder.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And it's about not living in fear. I saw that as a major theme, is getting out of fear to really live.
Absolutely. I think so many of us spend our lives sort of walled off, imprisoned from our own self and from other people because we're fearful.
Right.
And so the book talks about steps that you can take to actually name your fear, to befriend it, so that it doesn't own you, and allow you to live in a freer, more alive way.
My goodness. So, Robert Taylor, you were also the first openly gay Episcopal dean in America. How does that influence what you wrote in the book about, or how does that play a part in your story?
Well, I lived sort of in and out of the closet for decades, and what I discovered when I actually was out was that I wasn't living in fear anymore, and I gave no one else power to threaten me with disclosure. And so, I tell a story about that in the book because I think we've all had that experience about some part of our life. We've all heard people say to us, oh, Crystal, if only you weren't this, or if only you were that, instead of saying, wow, Crystal, you're an amazing human being because of those things.
Yeah, taking you as you are.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
This is such an incredible book, folks. You can get it now. Again, it is A New Way to Be Human, 7 Spiritual Pathways to Becoming Fully Alive. Robert Taylor, thank you so much for stopping by this morning.
Wonderful to be with you.
Pleasure to meet you. We appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of your career.
Thank you.
Definitely. And we'll be right back with sports. Don't go anywhere.